Hi, this is Alexandra Brown, and I'm going to be talking a little bit on how to use a PECS system. So a PECS system is for individuals with any kind of autism diagnosis, pretty much, except Asperger's, who are nonverbal or have limited verbal abilities. Any age could use it, but it's mainly used with kids and has been effectively used with adolescents. It's not used with Asperger's because they have better expressive skills than kids who have no expressive skills or little expressive skills with autism. The focus of PECS is to initiate communication, which is a fundamental deficit of autism, and to use functional communication in a variety of settings and with different people. So a PECS book looks a little bit like this, and there are a whole bunch of icons inside of it. And it also consists of a strip that you can take off, usually plastic. You can make these little icons on programs such as Boardmaker, and then you just cut them out and laminate them, put some Velcro on them. So when you first use PECS, you want to find out which items your learner prefers, and that could be done interviewing people that work with them or family members, or actually doing like a formal preference assessment. So there are 6 phases in the PECS system, and you're going to teach your learner all 6 phases and take data throughout. The first phase consists of teaching the learner how to give an icon that they want. So you're going to have 2 teachers with the learner, and you're going to set out whatever you thought that they preferred. So we're going to say that they preferred an iPad and just set out the iPad. And you're going to have the child sitting, and they're going to be close to the teachers. And then one person's going to set out the iPad and kind of entice them to reach for it. And then the other person is going to prompt the kid to touch the iPad, pick it up, and give it to the other communication or teacher. So that consists of 2 teachers and then some prompting so that the kid will give the teacher the icon, and then they are rewarded immediately with the iPad. So they will learn that giving the iPad gets them the iPad. And then the second phase is pretty much the same thing, but this time the child's going to get up. So maybe you put the iPad across the room, and then they're going to have to be prompted to maybe get up. But usually they'll get up and try to get the iPad, and then they'll be prompted to pick up this first and then go across the room, give it to the communication person, and then they will be given the iPad. And you want to make sure you teach this in many different settings instead of just one classroom setting. The third phase, you're going to teach them how to discriminate between 2 different icons, maybe something they don't like and something they do. Let's say the kid doesn't like the Slinky. So you're going to set both items out. And if they really want the iPad, but they touch the Slinky and give it to you, and then you give them the Slinky and they're like, oh no, I don't want that, you're going to do an error correction technique in which you tap the right one, make them give it to you, and then you distract them for a bit, and then you're going to try again with just the iPad and see if they'll give you the correct one. And then you can also do this with 2 things that they like, so that you can see if they can discriminate between a ball and an iPad. The fourth phase, you're going to start a sentence. So I guess you keep those up there. And then usually it's the I want sentence. So you're going to use backward chaining to get them to make a sentence saying I want something. So you're going to get them to put the I want, and then they're going to have to put the iPad on there, and then they're going to have to hand over the strip to you. And then you read it, I want iPad, and then you give them the iPad. And then you do the error correction if it's wrong. And then in this stage, you can also use descriptors, which I don't have. So maybe you have a green icon there, and they could put, I want green ball. And then the 5th phase, you're going to ask them a question. What do you want? And then they should be able to say, I want the iPad. And then they'll give you the strip, and you'll say, I want the iPad, and give them the iPad. And you want this to be question answering instead of like previously it's just spontaneous, I want this, but this time they can respond to a social interaction. And then you can use the time delay when you say, I want and see if they'll kind of chime in with the iPad. And then the sixth final phase, you're going to have them comment spontaneously on what they see or hear. So you could put the I see, the I hear on there too. And initially you're going to set up the environment to like make them comment on it and use some differential reinforcement instead of direct reinforcement. So you can ask like, what do you see? And then they can say, I see ball or whatever is in the room, and then you're going to say good job, and then eventually you're going to want them to spontaneously comment, and that's going to introduce some more spontaneous social interaction for the learners that didn't have any expressive communication to begin with. To monitor this, you're going to want independent correct response score of 80% or higher for a minimum of 3 days in a row, and that will let you know if you should move on to the next phase and see if they're really getting it. One drawback to PECS is that the icons could get lost, and that has happened to me before. If a student knows that an icon exists and you don't have it, they could get kind of angry about that. But it's really inexpensive and pretty easy to set up and to carry around with you. And it also does facilitate some great communication for those with ASD who did not have that beforehand. That's pretty much the PECS. Thank you for watching.